Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Blu-XPerience. Episode number 23, by the way. I still can't believe we're one episode away from having almost 2 years worth of, no, not 2 years, but 24 episodes. And it's going to be good, man. And this is going to be a very special one. I'm not even going to waste too much time because, as you can tell from the title of the stream, we have the one and only legend OG with us today to talk flight sim, aviation, and anything that we feel like we want to talk about. And so without further ado, let's just bring the man on. He's agreed to stay up late in the UK, talk to us and our audience, and we appreciate it. Chewwy, welcome aboard, my friend Matt. How you doing? Glad to have you aboard, man. Appreciate you being here.
Good to speak to you guys again. It's nice. I'm looking forward. This is my second ever podcast and the second one that I've done with you, XP. So I mean, if it's going to go anything like our one a year ago, I think it's going to be good talks this evening. So thanks both of you for having me on board.
Amazing.
True. And this time it's going to be live. It's live. It's not recorded anymore.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah.
Last time it was edited and recorded, and all of my awful swearing got like cut out and everything like that. That all went. No, yeah, it's live. There's no mistakes here.
This one might have the explicit underneath on Spotify.
Oh my word. Hey man, it's all flight sim. It makes you do that sometimes, especially when your stream crashes right as you start your intro. But that's a different story for a different day.
Actually, no, that's a perfect story for today. Let's start there, Chewwy. Give me a story of just bitter frustration in flight sim.
I mean, literally today, I went live and like put my notification like, hey guys, I'm feeling better today, back live again. And I said my introduction, went, hello, how's everybody doing? And then my streaming PC blue screened.
Oh, no.
It was like fine beforehand, and then it blue screened and like, okay, all right, one of those. And then I'm trying to install model matching for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and that don't even get me started on that either. But it's fine, we're all good. We're still flying. So yeah, you say about that. We've had it today, but it's all part of the parcel, right? It's all that's the fun and games of live content creation, right?
It really is.
Fun and games. I know. I mean, yeah, it happened to me yesterday too. As soon as I go live, hit the button, all of a sudden I pan around with the drone cam in Microsoft Flight Sim, boom, I'm done.
Boom.
But hey, as any quote-unquote professional YouTuber would do, I just rolled with it. Like, all right, fine, we're just gonna do that. I know you. Go ahead.
I would say you're like, I guess we're gonna be streaming the opening screen today.
There you go.
Yeah.
The blackshark.ai, that's it. And of course, the chat is always smart to see it right away. They go, uh-oh. They're
the first to notice as soon as something's wrong. But I like that with production. That's one of my favorite things, and that's something I wish like chats would do more. If there's something wrong with production, I want to know about it so that I can fix it straight away, kind of thing. But yeah, it's always like, because I use the capture cards, and you'll see like a massive Elgato screen just come up, and you're like, oh no, something's gone wrong, and people will spot it straight away. But it's good because the quicker people spot it, the quicker it gets fixed, right?
Yeah, and they will let you know.
I like the product placement you have in your camera.
Everything. There's so much stuff going on here. Are you talking about that side of me back there? Are you talking about that product?
The Thrustmaster TCA yoke in the back. You got the Star Wars. You got the what airline is that back there? The airplane models.
We got Virgin Atlantic up there. That was the first 747 that I flew on, and I've actually got like a really cool plaque thing up there as well, which a friend of mine got from the aircraft, which got retired and when it got chopped to pieces.
Wow.
And it's got like the seat plaque for the row that I sat on when I went on it. And then I've got 2 British Airways ones on it. I'm not a big like aviation model guy, but I mean, they look cool in the background. So, yeah. They're there. They're there.
Hint for me, I'm looking at both of you guys. I'm looking at my background going, okay, I got to step my game up.
You need some crazy lighting things going on. You need like the crazy RGB PC in the background, all of that. I mean, yeah, absolutely, dude. It's the next level.
Since we're here, let's start here. I mean, we're gonna go way back soon, but let's start here. Your studio. I'm looking at it. I watched your Thrustmaster event and a bunch of other your streams, but you had cameras everywhere, just pointing down like from the ceiling over your right shoulder. How many cameras do you have in that studio? right now?
So I've got 3 at the moment, which is more than enough for me. I only daily utilize 2 of them, and the third one's kind of a roaming camera. So I've got the main DSLR Canon. I think it's a Canon camera. I can't quite remember I think it's a 200D, which is kind of like my main DSLR. And then I've just got like the good old fashioned, every streamer ever. It's illegal if you haven't used this web camera, the Logitech C920.
That's XP's camera.
That's what I have.
If you haven't used that camera, you're not a streamer. I'm sorry. That's kind of like my, I guess, right over the shoulder view, which I kind of, use for the yokes and everything like that when I'm landing and taking off. And then I've got a roaming DSLR Nikon camera as well on a tripod. So if I'm, some of you guys know that I love to build Lego, so I can move that around and set that up. Or if I'm doing specific focus on pieces of hardware, I can change the zoom on that and move it around and stuff. So that doesn't get daily utilization, but it's really handy when I do need to use it to basically just have something there that's a little bit more mobile than the other 2. And it's totally overkill, but screw
Is that
it.
a custom desk you have there, or you buy that somewhere?
Yeah, so this was all part of the redesign because obviously with everything that happened in 2020, I usually take a trip to America for Flight Sim Expo or something, but that wasn't on the cards. So I had some budget spare and I thought, you know what, let's renovate the studio and make it kind of my own world. As a lot of people know, I used to share this studio with my late father, and I kind of needed a bit of a change of space and to make it my own. Mm-hmm. And so, I renovated it and got this kind of U-shaped desk, custom made, 500 miles away in Scotland. Wow. And it was shipped all the way down here. It cost me an absolute arm and a leg, but when you spend 12 hours a day at it, it's worth every penny. So, it's a really nice setup. I kind of enclosed on all 3 sides by it, but I love it. I'm really happy with it.
That's really cool.
Absolutely. I always like to look at streamers that I know people don't admit it and see, let me see what they're doing now. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to try that and see if I can incorporate it in my stream, but your studio is an inspiration though. I watched your journey setting it up or, and streaming with it. I'm like, I could see in your face that you are really pleased with the outcome of it, once it was done. But how was the process though, redoing the entire thing?
I mean, floating shelves. These floating shelves. Don't get me started on I'm never putting up floating shelves again in my life. I can't stand those things. And it was weird things. It was just like painting white. Why did I go with pure white? It was such a stupid decision to go with pure white for the walls with the painting. But I mean, it's all worked out in the end. And it's kind of like the little, I notice things about it even now where I look and the paint isn't quite perfect. And it's like, if I wanted the uber crazy professional studio, that would be fixed. But I kind of like it because me and Mum did it as a project together and it was good fun and we had a real good laugh doing it. And so actually those little imperfections are some of my fondest parts of the studio. And it's still adapting now. There's still a lot of work I've got to do on it, to be honest with you. Like you guys can see the radiator in the background there. I want to try and get a cover on that so that looks a little bit better on the live stream because you can see like the pipes hanging down from it. I know 99% of people will never notice it, but I notice it every single day and it annoys me. And like the door, nobody ever sees the door on my live stream, but I want a different door on here. So it's kind of like a rolling project, really, I guess, in a way. There's still some things I need to do. And what a lot of people also don't know is that I've got a loft area directly above me. This is a converted garage. And so we need to clear that out some time and make some more storage space up there. So even though the vast majority of it has been done for over a year now and it's kind of stayed very static, it's still a rolling project, which I like. So it was quite a long journey, especially getting the desk here and getting that all moved in. But once the pieces started to come together, it was remarkable how quick. I had all of my wires cabled and my internet routes done and everything like that on a day. That didn't take me a whole lot of time. And the flooring was done professionally and stuff like that instead of me fighting around with panels and stuff. So it was a really fun process, and I really love it. I spend way too much time down here now. I need to get out a little bit more, I think. But don't we all, right? As flight simmers, don't we all?
I'm going to say good luck finishing it because I did some renovations almost a year now, and every day I look at the different things that I need to finish up, that never gets done, and it's just something else that takes your time up. But it's yours. You did it. It's a labor of love, and you're enjoying it. So, talking about wires, how's your wire management? I was watching some stream on YouTube. And he judges setups and look at your wire management. How's that?
Yeah, no, that was something that was absolutely critical to me to get as best as I could, but also not be too pedantic on it, that I spent my entire life worrying about cable management. So across the entirety of the desk, there are trays that go all the way across. So all of my cabling is on these trays, which makes my life a lot easier. So the only cables that hang down below the desk are power leads, basically, to the wall sockets and things like Ethernets and stuff like that, and just a few awkward cables here and there. But the vast majority of things are all cable managed in these massive trays. Now, the trays themselves are an absolute mess. If I try and route something, if I need to move a cable out from the tray on the underside of the desk, it's a pain. But if anybody walks into the studio or anything like that and even looks underneath the desk, they're not going to see thousands of wires all hanging down below it. So it's kind of like there is cable management, but it's not the most clean setup in the world. I could definitely do more with the cable management if I wanted to, but frankly, I can't be bothered. To be totally honest.
I was gonna say too, like I'm pretty sure over the years of streaming flight sim and doing that you've accumulated a lot of flight sim hardware, and all these hardware come with cables, and it's something that I personally struggle with because I tend to jump between different yokes and joysticks, like from stream to stream, and like they don't all use the exact same cable, so I gotta move it out the way and then remount it. So like, how does that go with cable management for you?
So I simply keep it as simple as possible. I decide what I'm flying on the day and what hardware I need. And I've got I don't know if you guys have got IKEA over there, but there's got kind of like these 4x4 box Kallax units, they're basically called. And I put the joysticks into there, and I've got some like drawers that pull out. So the yokes and things that I'm not using, I can put into there. And I can just pull out the drawer or pull out the yoke, put them on my desk, and then I've got USB ports on the front side of the PC, so I'm not routing all the way over the back of the PC and trying to get into USB ports over there and faffing with all of that. And it doesn't look the tidiest when you've got cables running across the desk here onto the front, but it just makes my life so much easier having to route one or two cables. And with the TCA yoke at the back there, I don't know if you guys can see it easily, but it's actually, because of the thickness of my desk, the base clamp will not fit onto my desk because there's a wooden section and then a metal section on the front panel here, which is just my bad design. I should have thought about a clamping section, but I didn't.
I'm looking at it right now going, that's a big space, but with the metal part here.
Yeah, mine's, I mean, that space there, and then add, I don't know, maybe another inch or so. So it's pretty darn heavy duty, this desk.
Wow.
So I've got that, it's basically, it's a racing wheel stand that I've adapted to that yoke on. And then with the TCA throttle quadrants, which I've got two of, I basically route them all into like a USB adapter and then have one USB cable that goes into the PC. And I've never had any connection issues with that, just little USB adapter and stuff. So yeah, I decide what aircraft I'm flying on the day, what hardware I need for it, pull it out from my little unit or from the corner there, those legs fold up that it's currently on at the moment, put it on my desk, or in that case, slot it underneath the desk, plug in the USBs, and I'm ready to go. And then at the end of the day, just put them away again. And it just keeps my desk a little bit cleaner. I used to have all the joysticks and stuff kind of tucked away here and there and hidden behind my monitors when I wasn't using them. And it just started to get a bit cluttered because, there was so many. So it just keeps things a little bit tidier when I'm not simming.
I'm going to transition here and ask you this then. See, I'm looking at your organization. You pretty much have it all sorted out the way you like. It's clean. It looks good. Does this tie back into your past? Because I had a chance to interview Chewwy before when I was at Threshold, and a lot of people don't know that you were before this. Correct me if I'm wrong. You were a professional broadcaster. For something else. Did all of that tie into your past as a professional broadcaster? And can we start there and talk about your history, what led you up to flight simming and stuff, for where you started to where you are now?
Sure. Honestly, I don't know whether my broadcasting past necessarily, it certainly impacted me in terms of the production quality, in terms of like me noticing about the thing under there. Like, I get annoyed at myself sometimes if I don't have the cable sat behind my shoulder. That's an old broadcasting trick, by the way, for anybody who doesn't know. Yeah, there you go.
Get it underway.
You're really self-conscious now, aren't you? Like, oh, this guy's like, oh, praise, judge you. So that's an old like broadcasting trick that you used to always do before you go live. You would kind of have like a little bit of a checklist. You know, like, is your hair good? Have you got anything in your teeth? You know, are your flies undone if you're on a full body camera, and is the cable behind your shoulder kind of thing? So it's things like that with production that I learned in the professional industry a lot, which I've taken into here, and it was just a genuine passion for it all. I loved camera, you know, like that's why I've got 3 cameras. I don't need 3 cameras, but I love the production of setting that stuff up and having the different overlays for it and stuff. So that certainly fed into things. In terms of the organizational stuff, that's all come through trial and error. Like that whole setup that I talked about with the Kallax unit and things, that's actually only come into the studio within the last month. Beforehand, I had everything on the desk or was like trying to move it around, you know, on the floor or something like that. It wasn't that organized. So that's all just come through trial and error. And that goes for some of the other production elements like the stream PC, with the gaming PC as well. You know, that's something that's a big step up for a lot of broadcasters to do, to have that dual PC set up, because it can be a real faff, for lack of a better phrase, to set up. So I learned a lot from my broadcasting days with things like that. And yeah, the organizational stuff has just come through trial and error. And it's those kind of things that I've always had the aim, and I think XP, we spoke about this on the last podcast. A lot of the stuff that I do for my live streams, the live stream will never notice, and they'll never have any the wiser that I'm doing those things, or that I've done those things, or that I've spent 3 hours trying to cable manage a single cable, you know, or anything like that. That's a bit of an exaggeration. But that's the point. The point is that it should be a smooth and seamless stream for people. And a lot of streamers can get away with doing that with just setting up a webcam and going live, and they're quite happy with that, and their users and viewers get a really great experience with that. But I don't know, I kind of like taking pride in my production value, and the way that I organize things, not only for the content that people are watching, but just for my own sanity. It just makes my life a lot easier if I've got things in the right place at the right time, and I'm not having to frantically search for stuff or worry why a certain cable in a certain place isn't working the same way as it was doing the day beforehand. You know, we all have production issues, and things always go wrong. That's just part of the parcel with working with technology, right? But
always.
It's just, I'm trying to, with the setup that I've got here, I'm trying to limit that as much as possible, I guess.
So, for those who don't know, how did you come? Let's start from the beginning. How did you get into flight simming? That's the question that's like question number 1. Check. How did you get into flight simming? So, how did it start for you?
How did you get into flight simming, and how did you get into flight sim streaming?
Yeah, so I got into flight simulation by doing what every kid shouldn't do and not paying attention in maths class. And know how I said math and not maths class, as we say here in England, which is the correct pronunciation of the word maths with an S at the end. I wasn't paying attention in math class. Me and a friend of mine just basically used to speak about anything that wasn't math. And one day it came up that he'd got flight simulation with the can you still believe that the Logitech yoke is still going? That used to be like Cytec back then. It's still the exact same product. Like, you know, this was 2008. And he'd got one of those for like a birthday present, I think, and invited me over to his house. And then I ended up getting like an old, like little Logitech, I can't even remember what joystick it was. It was some ambidextrous, you know, little Logitech side stick thing. And I got FSX, the original one. I remember buying it from a computer store here called PC World, which anybody in the UK will know well, and using it on a computer that, I mean, the computer was so bad that, you know, like on FSX, you had the slider scales for the autogen. There was a certain level where the autogen buildings were just white buildings. They didn't even have textures on them, and my PC couldn't even handle those.
Wow.
You know, so it was great, and I just used to do it very casually, and then. It was one of those. Flight simulation was always one of those things that I drifted away from. You know, I would spend 6 months not doing anything in FSX, and then I would watch a Frugal Sim video. We love Pete. Pete's a good friend of mine now, and you know, I used to watch a Frugal Sim video or something like that, and would get back into it for a little while and then come away from it and stuff. And I really started to get into flight simulation fully during my years at university as an escape from university. And that leads into the broadcasting side of things. I was finishing up my career in esports broadcasting in late 2015, and I was in my final year at university at the time. And in February of 2016, I thought, I've been learning a little bit about flight simulation. I'm very familiar with the Twitch website and everything like that. Why don't I just stream it in some free time away from my last year at university, just for a bit of an escape from my studies? And, you know, as they say, the rest is history, I guess. Yeah.
Wow. I guess you started seeing that audience. Did your audience build all in quickly, or how was that where you just started getting noticed and building from one person to 5 to 10 to 100 to 200 to 300?
Yeah.
How was that journey?
I don't remember, because it was 6 years ago. You know, I'm 28 going on 82 right now. My brain doesn't work that far back. So it's true, believe me. So it's weird. I have like some memories. It's almost like when you have like childhood memories of certain, like you get certain flashbacks of things. I've got certain flashbacks of certain live streams back in 2016, but there's a lot of it that, unless I watched videos of it, I don't actually remember that much. But I think it's like a lot of people's progress on any sort of social media platform or broadcasting platform. Unless you get a lot of help from other people kind of feeding you viewers from their own channels, it's all an organic process. We've got to remember that I think back in 2017, I once was told a stat from a Twitch member of staff that FSX was ranked 210th on the leaderboards of categories on Twitch. You know, it's still a small fish in the grand.
Was that a good thing or a bad thing back then?
I think it plays both ways. I really do. And that's we could get into that topic for hours, I'm sure. And so it was just a case of kind of slowly building my name, the key to it. And I've spoken about this with XP, I'm pretty sure, again in the past, is consistency. People knew that at this time on this day of the week, I would be live. And that's, I think, was the key to the success for me. Not only with the consistency, but it was the consistency in what I was doing and the broadcast style that I was doing and everything like that, and the hours that I was live. And I think that helps play a lot into it, because there's nothing much more damaging that you can do for your channel as an aspiring content creator than being sporadic with the way that you do things, in my opinion. If you're really trying to take content creation seriously and you have a consistent schedule that you do for a month, and then you disappear without a word for a month and a half, and then you come back again and try and go into that same schedule that you had before, it's like a weight loss journey. Like you lose the weight really quickly, and then if you go back to bad habits again, you put on the weight the double the speed that you lost it in the first place. And I feel that's very similar with content creation, especially when you're on the rise. It can happen like that. So I think that was the key for me in 2016, was just consistency. I don't ever remember a specific point in it going, oh, okay, this is really starting to gain some traction now. I was just having fun, and I was just enjoying my time away from university, really. Yep. Which I'm still very lucky enough to be doing now 6 years later.
Wow. I like what you said, and I want a lot of you guys in the audience to take notes, because I get a lot of questions. Hey, man, how do I get into the streaming, and how do I get audience? What Chewwy just said is like, be consistent, but also notice that the little things you do makes a difference. You might not be able to pinpoint it, but you can tell somebody who spent some time and effort into what they're doing, and somebody just says, okay, I'm just going to go stream today. I think that's what I see with your streams is that you have that level that people don't recognize what it takes to put into it, but all they know is like, Chewwy's stream always looks good. Why does your sim look better than mine? Why does yours, and you're like, I'm rocking the same settings you are, but I'm presenting it differently, what I mean? Yeah. Something like that. So, yeah, I'd say take notes of that. Definitely. And, I'm going to jump into the meat of it here, because you said something about moving a slider on buildings that were just all white. How do we go from that to photogrammetry? Like,
not even. Just so lucky. It almost annoys me how there are still people out there who don't realize how lucky we are to have what we've got in the simulator world nowadays. And I unfortunately feel like a lot of the people are people who never experienced those days. Like when we've got critics of, Microsoft Flight Simulator specifically at the moment about relatively trivial things that are well in the grasp of Asobo fixing and things like that. And I'm like, dude, have you looked at the simulator? When I first started, I was on a 2D panel with, buildings that I couldn't even run with textures on it. I spotted my house in it. The first ever time I visited the sim in Seattle, I literally could see my house, which is absurd. And so I think we're so privileged and lucky to be able to have not just Microsoft Flight Sim, but the range of simulators that we do. I've always stated that I think the one huge factor that is so amazing about the flight simulation community is one word and one word only, and that is choice. Imagine being like heavily involved in Call of Duty, for example, which I used to be, and you get a crap Call of Duty game that comes out. You are stuck with that for a year, whether you like it or not. And if it is your, bread and butter, so to speak, and it's your job, you've got to basically either find something new and take a risk and take a punt trying to find a different category to make content in, or you've got to stick with the game that you don't enjoy playing or that people don't enjoy watching very much. And that can really be damaging financially, mentally, like inspirationally. With flight simulation, we've got, prepared, people still playing FSX. You've got X-Plane 11 coming 12 soon. Microsoft Flight Sim, DCS, all sorts of different things. And there's an audience out there for all of them. And what's really lovely is that there's also an audience, not just for the individual sims, but for the combined sims as well, who don't give a flying flamingo which simulator you're playing. They just want to see the simulator.
Yeah.
And I think we're just so lucky to be able to have all that choice.
I'll be honest, one thing I was concerned about when Microsoft Flight Sim came out was how are the audience going to listen or watch the different sims? Are they going to all split? Like, I'm only going to watch, you fly or someone fly X-Plane. I'm only going to watch you do P3D, only Microsoft Flight Sim. But it actually turned out to not be that way. I think in the very beginning, when Microsoft first came out, people were kind of curious because they didn't have it yet. They were all watching Microsoft Flight Sim content. But then, as they started to see kind of like what Microsoft was, and it kind of revealed itself on some of the things it was missing, then it kind of, I feel like it was, you'll see multiple streamers now streaming 3 different sims, and it didn't matter what sim they were, streaming. The same amount of audience would come out to enjoy watching them, and that's something I'm happy about, because like if you think about Call of Duty compared to other first-person shooters, it depends on the content creator, I think, as well. But a lot of times people will only come for that one game, not the other variations of it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I've always found incredibly interesting. I don't take a huge amount of time to analyze statistics on whether I'm flying a specific aircraft in a specific simulator and what my analytics are in comparison to another one. There is an element of that because I need to ensure that the people who are watching my live streams are enjoying what there is, what I'm showing. But it's still so lovely to see that there is a consistent kind of baseline viewership, whether I'm flying a 727 in X-Plane 11 with purely steam gauges and then crossing over to, something like a 747-8 with all of its modern technology in P3D, and then, the A320neo or something like that, or even a helicopter in Microsoft Flight Sim. And so I think that's always a worrying thing. And again, that's why we're so lucky as content creators as well, is that we do have such a supportive, global community within flight simulation of people who want to watch all of these different things. Of course, you're going to have people who've got preferences and people who've got opinions on things, and that's fine. But I still feel like at the core of flight simulation, flight simmers are fans of just flight simulators. It doesn't matter which one it really is. It almost doesn't matter which one you're flying and when and where. As long as you're in a flight simulator, I think the real kind of core fans and the vast majority of our community are just happy to be able to see some sort of virtual aviation, really.
Truth be told, I did have a fear when Microsoft dropped that I'm going to end up in a position where I was forced to stream one sim or the other. And I remember I did a lot of Microsoft stuff, and I'm like, man, I'm going back to X-Plane. It is not as pretty as Microsoft. Is the audience going to mind or care, or are they going to say something? I was like, you know what? Let me just go for it. So I look for like my best X-plane scenery I could find, where I had good ortho. Let me not go from this here to this down here and land where there's like default X-plane scenery or whatever. And I did it, and honestly, nobody cared. I cared more about it than the audience did, And then now I get into a stream, and in the chat it's always, which simulator is this? And I smile to myself, because once you're in a cockpit, they don't even, their brain doesn't grasp it or some. I could tell, but they're just like, whatever. So you know what? I love it. I love the fact that, yes, you're right. The choices that we have with the different simulators. I don't have P3D, but there's tons of people who fly P3D still. X-Plane 12 is just coming around, plus Microsoft Flight Sim. So the question is now, with everything that's on the horizon, Microsoft is still going up, PMDG, Phoenix, but X-Plane's got all these planes coming out. I mean, has it ever been this busy in the sim community as far as you can remember, with just different platforms having so much going on?
No, so I was speaking to the one and only Robert Randazzo, love him or hate him, the other day. He's a very dear friend of mine. And obviously speaking things, PMDG and everything and stuff. And he's been really excited about Microsoft Flight Sim, and he's been developing flight simulator products, I think, showing his old age here, because he is an old man, I think, since the 80s. Wow. He's been doing this for a while. I'm surprised he's not retiring soon, the old man. I hope he listens to this, by the way, because he always ribs me, so it's my turn to rib him a bit. And he says he's never seen anything like this. He really hasn't, and that's just regarding the one simulator with Microsoft Flight Sim. And I know he was really, really pumped for it, because we've never seen anything like this in all of his decades and decades long of experience in this community. And with X-Plane and stuff like that as well, it's just it's win, 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 win for everybody, isn't it? It's win for the developers, because they're making money and can afford to do this as jobs and can afford to fund more projects. It's win for us as a community, because we get more cool aircraft coming in, and again goes back to that word of choice of different things to do. And so, no, without a shadow of a doubt, I mean, I think I had the prediction since the start of the year, especially with the different things that are coming in and on the verge of releasing in all the different sims. It's pretty obvious that I think 2022 is, I hope, and it's very much looking likely, going to be the biggest year for flight simulation yet. Bigger than 2020 when MSFS released, because although that was a great release and there was a lot of hype about it, I especially found my viewer numbers went back to normal within 3 weeks. Once the kind of initial hype of the mainstream media had calmed down from it, everything kind of returned back to normal again, really. And it's been waiting for the stuff that's about to come out in that simulator, hopefully soon, TM, which I think will be the real Kickstarter to that sim, playing more of a forefront in the minds of people like me who love my high fidelity airliner stuff. I know there's a vast range of different types of aviation out there. But X-Plane as well, right? P3D, we've got the FS Labs Concorde, which I know is in a stage of testing right now. I think a lot of people are sleeping on that aircraft. I've got some very good friends who are testing it. They won't tell me a darn thing about it, as much as I try. But I think a lot of people are sleeping on that project as well. And when that comes out, that I have a very strong feeling that aircraft alone could very well see people keeping the prepared platform installed on their PC just for that aircraft alone. If not for anything else. So even if that doesn't release in this year, I think, going forward, we've got a really strong basis now going, and it's all really, I think now, thanks to, as it always has been, third-party developers, right? Where would we be? This is a question for you guys. Where would we be without third-party developers? We wouldn't.
Nowhere. We would have 3 or 4 sims with just whatever the simulator the company decide to give us, and that's it.
That would be horrible. That would suck. I would probably go play something else, to be honest with you.
True. I mean, I think about a simple program like Better Pushback plugin, right? And now toolbar pushback. So one's for X-Plane, one's for Microsoft. It's freeware. I downloaded it, put it in there, and now I don't even have to worry about my pushback. It just gets done for me in X-Plane. Microsoft, I can steer it around whenever I want. That's freeware stuff, and that's not even payware yet. So, and then you enter the Challenger 650 in X-Plane, like the most simulated airplane ever.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah. And so it's a team effort between the platform makers to make a good platform so that the developers, and that's the thing, right, is working with the developers so they can get the best of your game out. So you're absolutely right. The third party people are the one that runs this for us, and so we're going to be broke in 2022 buying all the add-ons that come out.
But I think with Microsoft Flight Sim, I think a lot of the developers, from what I'm seeing so far, it looks like a lot of developers are potentially leading down the line of a more affordable scale and basically almost going for, I'm not a business expert, but going almost for more of like a loss leader kind of tactic. Instead of charging ridiculous prices, in relying on a lower price and selling more units. There's no confirmation on that. We've not got pricing on things for these high fidelity products, but just from what we've seen so far, I have a feeling that's probably going to be the way that we're going to go with things. And I think that's because Microsoft Flight Simulator specifically is so much more broadly available. There's so many more people who are playing Microsoft Flight Simulator over the other sims, whether people like to admit that or not. Whether X-Plane 12 evens out that balance a little bit more, I don't know. I still think Microsoft Flight Sim is going to have quite a dramatic market share. And especially when you've got the in-sim marketplace, which, as far as my understanding goes, I think a lot of people are under the impression that the in-sim marketplace takes like an absolutely ginormous cut off of the developers. From my understanding of it, from the developers that I've spoken to, it's relatively similar cut to what you get on other platforms and other websites as well. That might not be a universal thing, but having your products on the in-sim marketplace, I'm sure will be absolutely ridiculous. I always go back to the old stat again that Rob Randazzo states that the DC-6, when that released from Microsoft Flight Simulator, it outsold all of the other platforms that it had previously been released on combined within 12 hours of release of Microsoft Flight Sim.
Wow. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and that's a DC-6. What the heck is it going to be like for a 737? Randazzo, I mean, I'm getting on his yacht when he buys one. I don't even care that he's planned it yet. But I mean,
true. No, you're right. Look, I could clearly say that, yes, if you compare sceneries right now, we don't have any payer airplanes like airliners yet. But the sceneries, it's almost not quite half the price, but I've seen it on X-Plane or some other website for $27, $30 in the same scenery, identical from the same person. It's like $12, $15.
And it looks better.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so easy to get. I mean, don't get me wrong, the X-Plane scenery is amazing, but MSFS scenery is just absolutely blown everything else away. And one of the big factors that I find with that is the blending. It's one thing that bugs me in the other simulators where you get the edge of the airport boundary going into the worldwide scenery. I've never noticed a boundary edge from a scenery unless there's like a deliberate fence there in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It blends in with everything else with the photogrammetry around it, with every scenery, whether it be freeware, payware, a professional developer, a new developer and stuff. And I think that's one thing that's really, really great with that sim. But, X-Plane's got great choices as well. And, P3D's always had like the huge, payware airports, which were always very good, quality and high fidelity and stuff. So I think in all the sims, there's really great choice for people out there, but it's kind of been a bit of a wake up call. Like, oh my gosh, I've spent so much money on scenery and prepared. Yeah. And Microsoft Flight Simulator has probably got more airport choice than P3D's ever had. And half of those sceneries aren't even going to cost me a penny. So I think that's one of the big selling factors from Microsoft Flight Sim, as you guys said. We were just discussing it before we went live. Go and have a look on flightsim.to, search for an IKO code, and there's a very good chance you're going to get a pretty good representation of an airport that you're looking for. If not, it'll probably be in the marketplace at a pretty good price.
Full disclosure, let me say, I've always called myself, I'm an X-Plane guy, because you know what, that's what I started with. I had a Mac when I started flying. I didn't have a PC, so I couldn't get anything else. It was the only flight simulator I could actually use because I had a Mac, which was like a potato PC, but hey, it got me into it. Then I bought a PC, and I upgraded it, and then I bought 3 more since then, But I'm an X-Plane guy. And I just said to Blue today, we were talking earlier, I said, I think I've finally drank the Microsoft Kool-Aid. It's not good. I think I have, because you could jump in anywhere parts of the world and with little effort already have your scenery. The ortho's already there. The trees are there. The downtown is already there. And you can explore some new places. Like I'm in the Middle East this week and I didn't do any work except 2 sceneries. That's it. to set up for streaming.
It's lazy content creation, right? Gone are the days of us spending hours downloading Author. The amount of hours that I spent downloading the entirety of France Ortho Autogen, and then whenever I fly over there in X-Plane, it's completely cloudy. You can't see a thing. It's all bloody France weather. You can't see, and I'm there like, right, I slaved for hours over this darn scenery, and I can't even see any of it.
You guys don't know half of it. It's true.
It's crazy. But I mean, I still love the Ortho stuff. Don't get me wrong. And some of the packages that we've got for X-Plane are great. It can be lazy content creation because you can just find some airports and go, like we were planning for this podcast and we were doing audio visual checks, and I was just like, yeah, those are 2 airports I've got in MSFS. Let's just install them. That'll do for tomorrow. I know I'll have the full scenery and everything. Then done. Cool. That's my stream tomorrow sorted. I can, have a late morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Lazy, but we're lucky that we got it.
I mean, I said this on Streamlab. I'm like, listen, Laminar, you already have the flight physics down. You already have all that done. I know you're going to work on the weather. I'm excited to see finally real icing build up and snow and stuff that they showcase. But we need some eye candy. We need some eye candy in X-Plane. I think that's where they need to go to compete, right?
It's going to be very interesting to see what X-Plane 12 brings to the table. I've been very cautious of my opinions on X-Plane 12, and I unfortunately feel at the moment, and I would love to be proved wrong, that X-Plane 12 is actually going to be more like X-Plane 11.5. And with that, I mean, because of how much of a jump Microsoft Flight Simulator was for simulators overall, I wonder whether X-Plane 12 is basically going to be more of the same of what X-Plane 11 was, which, don't get me wrong, is a very solid simulator. But yeah, as you say, there are certainly some elements to it that I feel if it ever really truly wants to compete with Microsoft Flight Simulator for market share, like visual wise, they're just going to have to improve quite dramatically. Maybe they've just like almost admitted defeat on that and go, let's go. We can improve our visuals. We can certainly make a better job of it, but we know what we are strong at. Let's keep our games strong on that and concentrate on those focuses. And we know that we've got our hardcore fan base and they will always be loyal to us. That's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's absolutely admirable to kind of almost admit defeat to the global superpower that is Microsoft in some regards. Maybe they are trying to stand up to them, and I think it's a really healthy thing to have competition between these big developers, right? I think that's really great as well. But there's no doubt that taking things on literal face value, the visuals in X-Plane and in P3D for that matter, well, we can't forget that, in my opinion anyway, are substantially worse than MSFS. And on the flight dynamics topic, there seems to be a humongous, I don't know whether it's a misconception or not, but a humongous amount of I don't know what the right word is, but controversy about the flight dynamics in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I've got another friend for another development team who I don't want to mention the name of just in case they don't want to be mentioned. It's not the Phoenix team. I'm not breaking my NDA before somebody says I am, and it's not PMDG either. It's another well-known established company. And one of my good friends is a pilot as well in real world. And in his experience of developing for MSFS and other simulators as well, he thinks that they're virtually on par with flight dynamics. And he's really happy with the way that Microsoft Flight Simulator is improving with things. Yes, it's still got a long way to go. The icing model, you can leave your aircraft for 10 minutes and it comes out looking like you've, just walked away from the abominable snowman. So there's certainly still a way to go with things, but I don't think the flight dynamics in MSFS are anywhere near as bad as some people like to make out that it is. I think some people.
I'm glad you brought that up because I think I said this,
and that's it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because I said to Blue, one thing that I'm looking forward to competition-wise, when the PMDG 737 comes out, I want to fly that back-to-back with the Zebo and just see flight dynamics-wise, what are the differences or similarities, if any, between them? I'm just curious at this point to really compare them. I'm going to do a test. So, I mean, what do you think about that? That would prove it once or all, perhaps. PMDG, a great company. A Zebo, a great developer that has worked on this thing for a long time. certified by other flight pilots and stuff. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting one, and I've always been really cautious as a content creator to compare products made by different developers in different simulators, because I think it can lead down to a really tricky path. I've got friends, for example, who fly for the same airline on the same aircraft type in real world, who have very, very, very differing opinions about which simulator provides the best flight dynamics. So if we've got industry standard professionals who have been flying aircraft, for airlines, major airlines for, years now, having big subjective opinions on those kind of topics, I don't think we'll ever really be able, as just casual flight simmers, to be able to compare that well. In my personal opinion on that, I think people can have personal preferences, but I still will never be able to understand how a flight simmer who's only been able to fly an aircraft in their bedroom or in their studio can say that an aircraft's got better flight dynamics in one sim over another. I'm like, cool, have you flown the real thing? Can you tell me that for a fact? Because how else would you know? But yes, there is still an element of comparing. People are naturally going to want to compare between all of the different platforms. People compare now. I get questions every day. Is the PMD G737 in P3D better than the Zebo in X-Plane? And I'm like, well, one's a freeware project based off a default aircraft in one simulator made by a bunch of people who are, doing this for a hobby. The other's made by a professional development company for a completely different simulator. It's like, yeah, they're a 737, but that's about all they share in common.
Yeah, I'm glad we're on this topic, because I know we all get the same question all the time. I always hear it, and somebody in the chat actually mentioned a controversial word, which was disinformation in the community about flight models. We've always known, in the community, X-Plane has always been known for being like the best flight model system, whatnot. And whenever Microsoft Flight Simulator, before they released, and they did their Discovery series, and we saw all they put into their flight model and their weather and how they integrate together, I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, this is going to be like an amazing flight model, right? And then we get the sim and we start flying it, and then now everybody's complaining about how this is not working right, And then recently I saw another developer diary and I think they did a Q&A as well, talking about specifically the next update coming up and how they're changing, or the next couple updates coming up, and how they're changing some of the things in the flight model to work better with like, for helicopters in the future, for propeller blades, things like that they're incorporating. And I'm like, man, like this, they're really putting a lot of time and effort and passion into the flight model that we've all been complaining about. And like you said, Chewwy, I do agree with you. Like, how do we know as simmers how it's supposed to fly? For one, we're not like a professional in that area. You know what I mean? Like, there's people who went to college, went to school for creating real airplanes in real life, and they're over here making that in a sim. So, how are we to compare X-Plane versus Microsoft Flight Sim? We know Austin and X-Plane is always going to say he has a superior flight model, right? He made it. It doesn't matter if he made a horrible thing. He would say that a Cessna is the best plane ever created if he wanted to, right? He could say that, right? But we don't have to agree with him. And so I think it's interesting controversy, right? Because, like, which one is better? Is there a way? Are they both equal? Like, I think it's kind of, I don't think anybody really knows.
No, and I don't think in a certain regard we need to know. I think one thing that it's controversial, but it's controversial for a lot of people in good manners, that we strive as a community to want it to be the best and want it to be as realistic as possible, right? I find a lot of the time any criticism given to Microsoft Flight Sim, even if it is relatively toxic criticism, giving how dare you release this simulator in this state, blah, 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 the flight dynamics are so awful, it's mainly because they are desperately wanting it to be as realistic as possible. And even though they're not projecting it in the best and most constructive manner, it's because they want the simulator really to succeed, or they want to be able to fly the thing as best realistically as possible, right? And I think you will always, as I say, if I've got friends who fly the same aircraft type for the same airline who have got differing opinions on such fundamental matters, I don't ever see casual flight simmers ever having an objective set answer on which is better in which regard, and it changes, right? Just on the people will say that the flight dynamics on like the Zebo might be better, but the systems on the PMDG might be better. The visuals on MSFS might be better, but the I don't know, the UI or something on X-Plane might be easier to use. The camera system in P2D with Chase Plane is better. Blah 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 blah. There will always we will never have it perfect. God, I wish we could all amalgamate the best things of all of those sims into one.
Yes,
that would be great. But that's in a completely ideal world that we unfortunately don't live in. And I think we should be happy that we've got those different things and that we can compare them. That we've got 737. We're going to, soon enough when the PMDG releases, we're going to have a really great high fidelity 737 in all of the major 3 sims, which is great.
True. Yeah, that is true. A little sideways here of what we're talking about. For you as a streamer, or just you as a simmer, let's put it that way, what is your minimum criteria for an add-on airplane where you think you will enjoy or not enjoy? Is there like a minimum criteria for you? Sound, looks, flight? What is the minimum for you? What would you say?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't expect the aircraft to have got the schematics from the real world aircraft implemented into it, because I know that's a very difficult thing, and not all add-on aircraft can quite go to that level of depth like the Challenger. However, I feel that there is a certain level of, and it goes by from developer to sim to sim as well. I'm basically just looking for it to be. It sounds really weird, but it comes down to a matter of trust, and that's going to sound really like, what the heck is this guy talking about? He's not in a relationship with the aircraft, But it's a matter of, am I absolutely petrified that my CDU is going to lock up on me, or that if I'm going to click a button that I expect to work in a certain matter, is it going to work in that way, or is it going to bug this one time? Or am I scared that the flight dynamics on it are going to make me fall out of the sky? If it's just a generally solid product, then I'm happy. It doesn't necessarily matter about the system depth. Like, you look at something like the working title CJ4 mod. You can get that thing started in 2 minutes and get airborne if you really want to, but it is absolutely solid. It does what you expect it to do, and it's a little freeware project. I could name companies, which I'm not going to, who charge add-ons in triple figure prices, and like the VNAV modeling on the thing makes me want to rip my head out that I've just spent that much money on something that can't follow a simple VNAV path on an arrival. And that's just the nature of the game. That's just how you play it, right? Sometimes you get lucky, you buy an add-on, and you go, oh my God, why the hell have I bought this thing? Sometimes you'll download something for free and go, wicked, I'm having great fun in this. Yeah. And so, it, honestly, for me, it simply comes down to trust. If I'm going to press a button or do an action, is it going to do what I would expect it to do? And if it does, great, cool, I'm going to have fun with it.
Yeah, it's funny because you didn't say sound, or you didn't say flight, you didn't say graphics. I
mean, those things come into a part, but I mean, Is it going to matter if the aircraft sounds and looks great if it's got me upside down in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean because it's bugged out and can't follow a flight plan?
Thank you.
Yeah, those things are great to have, and the eye candy and the ear candy are freaking awesome, and they complete a product. But for me, there are some simmers who will be happy with that, and who will be happy with an aircraft that looks great, and they can take some ridiculously nice screenshots and post them on Facebook pages with depth of field effects and get hundreds of likes on it and everything like that. And they'll be happy with that. Cool. I'm not going to judge them. If that's how they want to do their simulator time, wicked. I think that's an artistry in itself. However, if I've had to, mangle the aircraft around and do all sorts of weird autopilot modes just to be able to set up that screenshot to get it looking nice and all of that, that's not for me personally. So those things are all additional. Absolutely. It's more so about how the aircraft performs over how it looks and sounds for me.
Yeah, it doesn't break when you say, give me a direct to somewhere, like, crash later, see you.
It doesn't matter how good it looks if it can't do those simple functions, right?
True.
But don't get me wrong, I think visuals and sound are an incredibly important element for the immersive, and that's a completely different topic altogether, right? The immersion. And that's something especially that I've really started to get into with the Challenger. The fact that the level of immersion in that aircraft in X-Plane is unprecedented, and anybody watching and listening right now, if you're not a business jet flyer and you're not an X-Plane flyer, it's worth getting into business jets and buying X-Plane 11 just to experience the aircraft, even if you've got no interest in business jets before, because it will absolutely change the way that you even think about how a product is in a simulator, you actually feel like you're a pilot, right?
Yeah.
Not only is the system level depth incredible, but just simple things like walking into the FBO and signing off the fuel sheet and everything like that. Waiting for the fuel truck to arrive, and timing to call the FBO at your top of descent so that the passenger truck arrives, and every, it's the little things like that that we've never really had in a flight simulator, or not to my knowledge anyway. And so that's where the elements of sound and visuals come into play to make it a product, a consumer product, right? And so I don't think that they're an unimportant factor. I just think that, for me personally, the system depth is the primary thing that I look for in a product, and then those things come into play afterwards.
So going forward for you definitely will be sticking with do you still fly FSX or just P3D now?
No, P3D, X911 and Microsoft Flight Sim. I mean, I do play FSX, but we recently downloaded FSX again to do the original missions. Because, I mean, there's no greater simming experience, in my opinion, than some of the Loopy Larry mission in FSX. I mean, we were almost crying with laughter on my live stream the other day trying to do that, landing on top of a bus in that little, I can't remember what aircraft type it is now, but that they're great fun. That's where simulation really started off for me back in those days. So technically, you could say I am still an FSX flyer, but yeah, only for those default missions, which I highly recommend people to download and relive a bit of history if you haven't flown them for a while, because it's really good fun.
Nostalgia flights, I would say. Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Absolutely. So, looking forward, let's start with anything coming up. You said P3D, there's a Concorde coming up that you're looking forward to. Anything coming up for X-Plane that you're looking forward to, aircraft-wise, in development?
Rotate MD-11.
Yes.
I've never flown a Rotate aircraft before. I've never flown an MD-11 before, but oh my God, I cannot wait for that aircraft. I don't know whether they're waiting for X-Plane 12. I have a sneaky suspicion that they could well be waiting for X-Plane 12, because we've already had confirmation from certain developers like Aerobask with their Falcon 8X. I think they're waiting for X-Plane 12. Regardless, whether it comes out for 11 or 12, I cannot wait for that aircraft. And actually, that was another, the Airbus Falcon 8X. I can't wait for that aircraft to come out as well. I think they're going to be really, really, really great. So hopefully they're strong in X-Plane, and they kind of keep that platform, going and keep it fresh on there. We don't really, I don't know in terms of high fidelity airliners what else we've really got on the horizon for X-Plane coming at the moment.
Yeah, the 777 version 2 from Flight Factor.
Right. Yeah,
and
Flight Factor.
Finally, a great 7.8 for X-Plane as well.
Oh, really? That's news to me. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're going to be doing, but we had them on the show maybe a few episodes ago, and they're doing both. But they did a poll, and they basically wanted 777 first, because we don't have a good one now, and then a 787 afterwards. You're going to be doing both. But you've never flown the Rotate MD-80? You don't have that plane?
No. I've flown the MD-80 Prepared, which is made by Leonardo, which is a phenomenal representation of the aircraft. And it was kind of one of those things of, do I want to invest in the same aircraft type that I maybe fly once a month, over 2 sims? The only reason why I've not flown it in X-Plane, I've seen from live streams and things phenomenal things about that aircraft. So it's not for a reason of judging them that I've not got it. It's just for I've already got it in P3D.
I wanted you to get bitched at by bitching Betty.
Yeah. Oh, it's, stabilizer motion. If you've not heard stabilizer motion, are you really a pilot? Are you really a pilot?
There you go. That's true. True.
Oh man, mud flaps, stabilizer, Jesus Christ.
Mud flaps.
If you get one thing in that aircraft, and you can really be screwed. It's quite funny, because when I have flown the MD-80 in the past, I'll usually get 1 or 2 people who are quite experienced with it in, and you can just like the dialer flap, the fact that you have to reset like the dialer flap and the auxiliary hydraulic things on the first officer's side by his left knee, and also it's such a quirky, freaky aircraft. It's brilliant, and I think the MD-11 is going to be really great as well. I think that's one thing that I look forward to with a new aircraft type, is learning the quirks about it, and learning the little things like, oh my God, I never knew that was a thing. I've got good friends who are building the INI builds team, with the A300 and the A310. and the Beluga, and learning some of the weird, quirky facts about those aircraft. It's just like, holy crap, this is a cool plane. And it's maybe the things that your average, flight simmer would never really care to find out about it and never read the documentation or watch a video to know about, and that's perfectly fine. But those are the kind of things I live for in flight sim, of going, hey guys, did you know this little fact about this aircraft? And if you flick this switch in this position at this time, it's going to do that. I love that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, flying airplanes for me is like, I'm started with flying Boeings, and then I switched to Airbus, and then I had to retrain my brain to do things backwards or differently or whatever. But the MD-80, I can fly it, I can get it off the ground, take off and land, but I still don't know the systems, like why you have to dial a flap and stuff. And I like to know that, just for my own headspace, to say, okay, the reason I'm doing this is because it does this. And that's why I like, and that's the thing, harken back to the different sims, why X-Plane I think will be around. Let me just say that, because it does have all those older airplanes that we probably won't see for a while in Microsoft Flight Sim.
Or will we?
Oh boy.
No, dude, I'm just teasing you all now.
It's true. We're getting all the stuff, man. MD-11, MD-88, 7.5, 7.6, the old stuff without, your huge glass cockpit. We're getting those airplanes, It's weird because it took me a while to get used to like the big screens in the 787 and the Max. I'm like, that's too modern. It's just like the G1000. I still don't like it. I like a six-pack, so having those to fly in X-Plane is going to be a good thing going forward. So just like you, I think I'll still be flying the two sims that I fly now. I'm not going to give any up at all. I'm just pulling for each different sim to do this better, do this better, do this better. Keep us happy.
Yeah, I think again we're still going to have choice. It's so far not been an overnight thing since MSFS came out that we've got all of these high fidelity aircraft in. It released 16th or 18th of August 2020. We're here in 25th of February 2022, and we've got 3 high fidelity airliners in beta testing, all within the space of 3 weeks of each other by complete coincidence. But it's taken a while to get to this stage. And it's not going to be an overnight to get all of the other aircraft in to Microsoft Flight Simulator. I think PMDG said on a podcast not long ago that they potentially expected just to get their current fleet of the 777, the 737, and the 747 into Microsoft Flight Sim. That's going to take them well into 2023, if not further. So it's a long-term thing. It's not going to be an overnight project, as we found out. And that's the great thing. We've already got these well-established other simulators. X-Plane 12, still going to be a great. I think, even though I'm still cautious about how much of an improvement it is going to be over 11, it's still going to. We know it's going to be a stable and a really solid simulator, and there's going to be a really great amount of products out for it. And that's the most important thing. P3D, it might be, we don't know what's going on with the development for it. I don't think it's going to keep up with X-Plane 11 or Microsoft Flight Sim. I don't think they're trying to keep up with those either. But it's still a solid sim. It still works. You can still load it up and fly some pretty cool aircraft in it, And that's not going to change just because the other sims might be progressing in a more forward manner at a quicker pace. So I think going forward, we're still going to have a hell of a lot of choice. We're going to have even more choice. And I hope that it doesn't divide the community further. I hope it brings us together as a community further, that people are, just accepting that everybody's going to enjoy different things. I see quite a lot of people who are very strong in their opinions, almost to a toxic level, about which simulator is best over the other. Who cares, man? As long as whatever simulator you're flying, you're having a good time in, it doesn't matter if it's the best sim over somebody else's flying experience. No. Who cares? It's all about having fun at the end of the day, isn't it?
True. And I'm glad when I'm flying online and I get a little conga line going with a bunch of people flying along, it's every simulator that's in there. It's not just one.
Yeah.
Everybody's on Vatsim, so it's good. All right. Couple of questions from the chat. I've been looking at it and having it go by here. And first one, somebody says, Chewwy, what's your favorite aircraft in any sim? What's your most favorite aircraft in any sim?
Favorite aircraft in any simulator?
What
I'm going to be an
go-to?
absolute tease right now because nobody here can get their hands on it, and I am saying the Phoenix Airbus A320, and I'm not saying any more.
Come on, man. Seriously.
Sorry, you asked the question. I'm giving you the honest answer here, okay?
Wow. Wow.
I
In
mean,
any
just,
sim, though.
Wow. Shit.
You wait.
Uh-oh.
Wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
I mean,
don't
we've
break
seen
your
the videos.
NDA.
Yeah. We've seen the videos and screenshots.
Yeah, I have no idea how close I've been. So a couple of weeks ago, actually, I was flying, and Amir, who's a good friend of mine, who's the lead project dev for Phoenix, he was in the chat, and I'd been saying that, I've been flying a little bit of VR, doing some testing in the Phoenix in VR, and he was like, all right, I can see you're absolutely gagging to just say it, so I'm giving you I'm lifting your NDA for one single sentence to tell chat what you thought about the Phoenix in VR. And so I shouted very loudly, it's absolutely fucking unbelievable. And that was it. And it felt like a huge weight off my shoulders. I felt like, I just had therapy or something. I was able to actually say something. So, believe me, as much as it pains you for me to tease you all, it pains me more that I can't tell you more. But yes, my favorite aircraft that I've flown in all of flight simulation history for me is the Phoenix A320, and it's not even out yet. You guys wait.
That is huge. Yeah. That is actually huge. I mean,
people will think that I'm saying that because I'm involved with the project. The team know that I am completely unbiased on that. If there is something wrong with the aircraft, I will tell them that straight up. So please, I just want to give that as a disclaimer. It's not me trying to promote the product. I'm not getting paid to say that or anything like that. It's my genuine opinion, and that's why I'm on the team, to give them my opinion as a flight simmer on it.
And I won't stay on
podcasts.
I was gonna say I won't stay on this too long, but it blows me away that you would say that. And again, we're not gonna go into it because you can't. But blows me away that you would say that is the fact that we have literally so many Airbus products for every sim, right? Mm-hmm. That we've been Airbused out, and yet the Phoenix A320 is still gonna come out yet again. The same plane we've been flying on every other sim is gonna come out on Microsoft Flight Sim and be so much better than anything else currently available. Anyways.
So the last thing I'll say on it is, let's go back to that topic that we talked about earlier on with immersion. Yeah. Think about the simulator and what we've got there. You guys have seen videos and pictures of what it looks like and everything like that in the simulator. So I'm not breaking NDA for you guys to be able to form your own opinions on that as well. So let's think about this as a total product, right? Everything plays into a factor with my decision to say that it's, my favorite aircraft so far. I can't remember what was the other question. Favorite aircraft IRL. I mean, I think the 3 747-400s in the background here, specifically the RB211 engines, is that's my answer straight away.
You really like that 747, don't you?
Yeah, I never got to fly on one with the RB211s, unfortunately, because of the pandemic. But I was lucky enough to fly in the bubble of the 747-400, the top layer, 4 times with Virgin Atlantic. So that will do me. I've only flown on the top of the 747. So yeah.
The upper deck.
The plants are still operating them, so I might have another chance with Lufty. But so that's my favorite one IRL.
Wow. Any from your chat, Blue? What do you got?
I don't think so, actually.
Okay, good. Everybody's been just.
I don't want to know anymore. They're like, I'm going to bed now. I'm fed up with this guy.
I know. No. Trust me. I mean, wow. Is that the time already? Jeez.
I know, right?
But no, I love the discussion that we've been having, because it's different than just the standard. Hey, okay, you were born when you did this, but it's just we're talking about real flight sim stuff that my chat is saying that they want to hear. Mm-hmm. It's real. You're keeping it real. As we love to say here in the States, not no BS about, this and that and the other stuff. And it's going to be exciting for us, man. We can't wait. We have no patience anymore, both for X-Plane 12 and both for the Phoenix and for Microsoft, for PMDG. Can you believe that the Phoenix guys actually got a real airplane to scan? Did they tell you that story?
So did they tell you that story?
Yes, they did. On this show.
Cool. I'm not. I'm so conscious, because the amount of times people have tried to bait me into telling information, and I'm like, don't say anything. So, yes, that is correct. Yeah, I can't remember what airline it was or where they specifically.
Yeah, don't say. Yeah.
Mainly because I can't remember, but they did scan a real world flight deck, so it's phenomenal. you'd see on the public Discord server for Phoenix, and people will see like a screenshot or something and go, well, I'm not quite sure about the dimensions about that. And then they'll post like a 2D image that they found off Google. And it's like, cool, which one is more accurate? Our 3D scan model down to like 2mm accuracy, or the 2D image that you've just found from a completely different angle on Google? I think we'll go with our calculations. So it's quite funny that you'll see people give those kind of interpretations on things, and it's just like, okay, I don't know where you're getting that from. But yeah, and that's just on a visual scale with the Phoenix and stuff. So yeah, I think there's going to be lots of comparisons between the different products. We were even getting questions like, which is going to be better, the PMDG or the Phoenix? And I'm like, dude, one's an A320, the other's a 737. Like, they're going to be priced differently. They're made by different companies. Like, does it matter how do you define?
You have to have both. That's it. So don't compare them. It's like,
I predict these companies are going to make an absolute killing, when they all come out.
As they should.
Absolutely, as they should. We said it earlier on, right? It's win, 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 win. If they make more money, they get to make more cool products for us. We get to have more stuff in the sim, right? Who loses in that scenario?
Here's another question again. As of right now, today, which simulator would you recommend somebody buying? And I know it's a tough question to answer because I get it asked all the time. Which sim should I get? P3D, X-Plane, or Microsoft Flight Sim? Like right now, that's the question I get. When have you ever gotten that question? What would you say?
It purely depends on the type of flight simulation that you want to do and how much money you're willing to invest in the simulator. If you are purely a long-haul airliner guy with a lot of money to spare, I would still recommend Prepared, because it's got the best at the moment 747, 400 and -8, 777 and 787, which are kind of like your big three. It's not really got much Airbus wise, but I still think it's there. X-Plane is certainly catching up in that regard. But P3D is, apart from that, I wouldn't, apart from those factors, and if you are very excited about Concorde and you're like a Concorde fanatic, even though we've got no idea how long that's going to take until release for FS Labs, those are the only reasons I'd really go for P3D. Honestly, as an overall product right now, especially again with what's on the horizon with airliners and stuff, and just how accessible it is with general aviation and the freeware stuff with scenery and how easy it is to download things from flightsim.to and stuff, I'm going to say Microsoft Flight Simulator for the vast majority of people. However, you still won't go wrong with X-Plane 11 if you do decide to choose it. I think some people, when they ask that question about which simulator should I go for, are worried that they're going to make the wrong choice. Whichever one you pick, you're not necessarily going to make the wrong choice. Just spend a bit of time working out what type of flying you want to do, and spend a bit of time doing a bit of research as to which simulator would be the best choice for that type of flying that you want to do. And if you don't know what type of flying you want to do, I would go for Microsoft Flight Simulator because, well, I don't know. Again, it changes day to day. Sometimes I might say Microsoft Flight Sim. The other day I might say X-Plane 11 or going into 12.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would err on the caution with X-Plane 11 is that if you buy it full price now, we don't know. There's a pricing scheme that's coming into place with X-Plane 12, right?
Not sure when it's going to kick in.
Yeah, we don't know when X-Plane 12 is coming out. So there's a very good chance that if you buy X-Plane 11 now, you might then have to pay full price for another brand new simulator with X-Plane 12, because we don't know when that's coming out. So that's a financial factor to weigh in as well.
That's great. All right, another question, a little different subject, and it's on the subject of AI ATC in all these simulators. Somebody in the chat just says, did developers give up on making AI ATC, or is it that Vatsim is so good there's no need for it? Where do you stand on the in-game ATC versus flying with Vatsim? Where do you stand on that?
I've never been an AI ATC guy. It's just not my cup of tea, to be totally honest with you. I can understand why some people might like it for different factors. Nerves, if they don't want to fly on the network, if they just kind of want to chill out and do their own thing, and they want to take a little bit of pressure off things and stuff like that, and they just might find it more fun. I've never really been too much of a guy on that. I always find that I have a much more, what's the word that I'm thinking of at 1:45 in the morning? Not vivid, but it feels more tangible, again, with that immersion level of things when I'm speaking to a real human on the Vatsim network, or when I'm flying with my friends on the Vatsim network. I always feel that you'll get the better flying experience. And quite frankly, I think that you will learn a heck of a lot more about flight simulation if you fly on a multiplayer network. It doesn't have to be VATSIM over AI ATC, because AI ATC, a lot of the time, you're just kind of, if you're doing it via text, I think a lot of the software is like, you'll just, well, I remember the FSX days, you like hit a button, 1 to reply affirm, 2 to reply negative, cannot comply with your actions, blah, 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 you know. And I don't know what their softwares are like nowadays. They're probably a hell of a lot more complex, but it's still not quite going to be the same as getting a full IFR clearance and reading it back to somebody over the internet, a live human being on the other end of the scope, right? And I think you get a hell of a lot better of a learning experience and can become and progress as a flight simulator pilot a lot quicker and a lot better doing it that way. It's not to discount anybody who does like AI ATC, if that's their cup of tea, as we would say here in England. Cool, but I think it goes out the window.
Yeah, you're not going to get vectored into a mountain from VATSIM, but in AI.
Oh, you might.
You see that, but it's hilarious. It makes it even more funny when it does happen on VATSIM, because then you have to. The thing is, with the level of quality on VATSIM ATC and things like that, is that they are so bloody good. A lot of these air traffic controllers is that it takes them to do something wrong for you to actually go, oh God, these guys aren't trained professionals getting paid for this. I should probably not be quite so critical of them when they make a mistake, because the mistakes are so rare. You know, and so we're very, very blessed to have such great ATC on not just VATSIM, again, on the other networks as well, I'm sure. It makes it, even if they do try and fly you into a mountain, it makes it that much more funny than just an AI robot.
Or when they forget about you.
Exactly. Oh, they forget about you. Exactly.
Yeah.
Someone wants to know, what's your favorite kind of VATSIM events to fly on? Is it cross the pond? Is it local?
Yeah, I mean, cross the pond is always kind of like the big one to go to, right? They're always really great fun, because they're just like an event that you kind of do. It's almost like tradition that you get involved with them, right? They're really good. But my favorite types of things on VATSIM are the spontaneous things, not necessarily an event, where I'll log in on the day and I'll have 10 viewers decide to join. And, you know, a couple of people that I know might log on. Like today, I had a good friend of mine who's actually training to be a real world air traffic controller in Geneva, who I'm going to visit next month in Geneva and go and take a tour there, which is really cool. He just logged on Paris for us and, you know, and vectored about, I think there was about 7 of us flying from Leeds to Paris today. And I love those kind of things on VATSIM, where you've just got like a nice steady group of people who are all communicating well with each other. If there's no ATC, or you've got people that you know logging on. But I think the thing that I love the most about it is when you go to a region that you don't necessarily expect air traffic control. The amount of times that I've flown in China or somewhere like Tel Aviv, and they're not necessarily the regions that you would expect to get air traffic control on, especially at the times that I stream. And then they come on and they absolutely nail the sequencing, entirely professional. They staff up the whole region, and you can genuinely tell that they appreciate that you've brought some traffic their way. That to me is like way more enjoyable than cross the pond. Really, I love cross the pond, but those are the moments where I'm like, yeah, I love VATSIM. This is awesome.
I just want to add another thing I love is when you go to places like you said, and you hear the authentic accents of the region. That's amazing.
Yes.
It's so cool, right? It's almost weird when they're not authentic. I flew into Cape Town the other day and the guy sounded more British than I do. Like, oh, that's weird. But, you know, it's still cool, right? It's still cool. Yeah, I love that. And you know, you realize that it's like, again, if I fly into Hong Kong and it's like 3:00 in the morning there, so I'm like, what are you doing? Do you not have work tomorrow? You're coming on to control me on, you know, and they're like, yeah, we don't care. You know, I think that's brilliant. I absolutely love that. And, you know, it sounds so cliche to say, but flight simulators, it's a global thing, right? We can fly across the whole globe. So then to match it up with speaking to people across the whole globe on these networks and stuff like that, it just kind of creates this beautiful kind of thing. And I think with everything going on in the world right now, especially, you know, having a bit of harmony across the world with silly things like flight simulation and flying in different regions of the world is something that we all need a little bit of, right?
It does bring us together. Yeah, I mean, just seeing in chat somebody shows up and go, oh, I'm watching you from Bangladesh, or I'm watching you from, I'm like, what? Okay, cool. Welcome aboard.
Or somewhere you're surprised they have internet. You're like, oh, cool.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like, you want to be politically incorrect and go, you have internet there? Really? Yeah, I know. That's not good.
Real quick, I do have a question in my chat that you probably can't answer, so you don't have to. But I do want to respect them by at least asking their question. They want to know two things. Are you already playing X-Plane 12, and are you testing the PNDG 737?
No and no to both of those. So I can answer both of them, and no and no. I've in my 6 years of flying flight simulation, I've even been in the same room as X-Plane developers on numerous occasions, and I've never spoken to one of them. I mean, yes, it's just on me to take the onus and go and meet one of them, but never had any. The only I make for years before Microsoft Flight Simulator came out, I've made a living off of Lockheed Martin's Prepared and Laminar Research's X-Plane 11. I've never had any communication with either of those developers, not once. Crazy, right? Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak highly of ourselves as streamers, but we do bring the what do you call that, advertising for the platform.
That is a whole topic that we could spend hours talking about on content creators and advertising things. And this is one thing. It's like, I think a lot of people are under the impression that we as content creators will give reviews when we get stuff for free. That is not the case whatsoever. I'm very good friends, again, I've said it, with the team at INI Builds, and they give me their products for free and stuff like that. But they know that it is on the onus that if I have an issue with the product, they will, I will tell it to them. Like, for example, with their new Heathrow scenery that's just released today for Microsoft Flight Simulator, they even made a joke like, oh, it will release publicly for you guys this week as long as Chewwy doesn't break it beforehand and tell us all about it, And they as a company really kind of value the impact that a content creator can have on their sales. And I don't think there's a lot of companies in the flight sim industry that do that. And that's up to them. We're a very small community. Every sale counts to a lot of these people, right? So I get that. But, in other big title games and stuff like that, you would have content creators not only getting products for free, but being paid to advertise those products a lot of the time. And that is very, very, very seldom heard of in Flight Simulator. I've only ever been contacted to financially promote something, I'd say twice in my 6 years, and both of those things haven't necessarily been Flight Simulator related. One of them was the graphics card via NVIDIA project that I did with them through Microsoft Flight Simulator, but it was directly through NVIDIA. So it's very rare that companies value us content creators as a promotional thing. It doesn't. I don't think it costs them anything to give us a free code. If we then go and stream it in front of a couple of hundred people and make a couple of sales for them, they've made profit. And we're happy because we get to stream the thing early or stream it for free and have a great time with it. Who the heck is damaged in that? But we're still, unfortunately, in a time where a lot of developers don't quite realize the power of that. Maybe one day they'll wake up, maybe they won't. We'll still keep buying their products anyway, won't they? So maybe that's why. Maybe we need to stand up and unite as content creators and say no.
Can I say this just publicly one time?
Go ahead.
It wasn't recently, but one time, because I understood kind of that whole thing. But one time I talked to a developer, and I was like, kind of the same concept, just basically, I can advertise or show your scenery or plane product, whatever that may be. And they weren't really sending copies out to anyone. Like I wasn't seeing anybody, no creator, it doesn't matter how big or small they were, I wasn't seeing anybody getting it for free. And the thing they said to me, I'm not gonna say who it was, but they said, no, I don't think we need that, because once it releases, people are gonna buy it anyways and they're gonna make reviews about it. And I was like, you're not lying. It's true. I mean, if you don't give it to us, we probably will still buy it and still review it.
That's such an obtuse way to look at it, and I think that's almost an arrogant way to look at it. In my honest opinion, I think that's an arrogant way of looking at it. Like, it's going to sell anyway. That's like saying Call of Duty again on big titles like that. They don't need to do any trailers or posters or anything like that because they know people are going to, buy the game when it comes out. I'm pretty sure marketing and advertisement, how many decades has that been around now? I'm pretty sure it's around for a reason, right? I think that's the problem that a lot of people have, is some of these companies think we can stick up a couple of screenshots and a couple of trailers on YouTube and it will do the same marketing job as these other big title games and stuff like that, when they don't realize that a lot of the drive towards people buying products and stuff like that comes down to the review of content creators. Why? Because we're in a position of trust, right? People trust our opinions. What are they going to trust more? What is going to set, in my opinion, the way that I look at it from a content creator standpoint, is what is going to make a consumer buy a product more? A 2-minute trailer that you invest in and spend a hell of a lot of time doing, or a content creator doing a YouTube review of it and giving their opinion on it and showing it off for you? What's going to sell more? I think the second one, personally.
I could tell you personally that whenever anything drops, scenery, airplane, hardware, somebody asked about in chat, when you didn't even talk about that yet, I don't look at the trailer or the pictures. I go to the first stream I see streaming it, and I go look and see what it looks like in actual real life being used by somebody who wasn't coached or, told what to do. It's just like their first take on the product. That's the best selling thing to me. And so I don't understand why. I do have to shout out one developer that did go the extra mile and go, hey, this is not a promotion, but here you go. You can have all my stuff whenever you want. And, because I like the fact that you always fly to my scenery. And that was Latin VFR. And I was like, wow. Yeah. I was like, thank you. You know what I mean? I appreciate that. So you're absolutely right. Look, this is a whole new subject. We could go on because me and Bill talk about it.
We talk about this all the time.
All the time. So, yeah. We got to touch on this real quick. You can't talk about flight sim without talking about hardware and where we are now in hardware. And yes, I'm biased because I think that we finally have like the best yoke ever. But hardware, flight simming, man, what's your thought on that?
Again, it goes back to choice, right? I get the question almost daily. What's the best yoke out there? I mean, I should always have a disclaimer in front. I am officially sponsored with Thrustmaster, so I do promote their products primarily. So if anybody out there takes what I'm about to say as complete bias towards Thrustmaster, I will not be offended. I've been using their products for years before I was ever officially sponsored by them, and I only work with companies in a sponsorship capacity if I feel that I want to promote their products. I'm not going to promote absolute crap out there just because I'm getting paid for it, kind of thing. That's not how I think anybody should roll, and especially not how I roll. But I always state it, people come in to me asking, is the Honeycomb better? Is the Logitech better? Is the new Turtle Beach yoke better? And I'm like, but the thing is that it's got choice, right? Only a couple of years ago, we only had honestly, and it's nothing to do with Thrustmaster, the crappy Logitech yoke, because it is crappy, that people still rely on, but it's still the same technology as Cytec had out, as I said, in like 2008. That was the only choice that we had. But, like with the Thrustmaster one, it's a completely different system, right? It's the pendular system. You get that more airliner feel, whilst the Honeycomb has got the more generic general aviation, style yoke with the push-pull kind of mechanism with the rod at the back, So you've got, again, in a way, how can you really compare them as to which is the better one and which should you buy? Because they feel entirely different. They do. I've used both. I've got both. They do feel entirely, different. And so it's great that we've got choice out there. The amount of joysticks that people can pick up now and use. I mean, whether there's a whole lot of innovation with that going on at the moment, I don't know. I'd still love there to be force feedback. I've got no idea technologically how awfully difficult that would be to make. I dread to think the things that would have to go into place to make a realistic force feedback, flight control system. I don't know whether it's even possible, but we thought that Microsoft Flight Sim wasn't possible until that got announced, right?
Yeah, so force feedback at consumer prices, we should say.
Oh yeah.
That's $5,000.
It would be absolutely ridiculous. The first and only time that I've ever flown a real world aircraft, it was ridiculous to me how intuitive it was to actually trim, because you could feel the response. You don't get that. You just have to go off visuals in the simulator, and we've just kind of all got used to just going off visual trimming, right? So I think that would be the thing that I would love to see. I would love to see force feedback. I think a lot of people in the community would share that sentiment as well. Whether it's possible or not, we don't know, but
it's possible. I know it's possible. They're doing it with racing wheels. If it can be done with a racing wheel, it can be done with a flight sim hardware.
Yeah, maybe I'll get onto my guys at Thrustmaster and be like, "Yo, come on."
Yeah, seriously.
Now, for me, what's missing now? Because I have the TCA Airbus from Thrustmaster stuff here, the throttle quadrant with the flap lever and the brakes and all that stuff. I want a Boeing one. I want a Boeing throttle that moves. So when I do auto throttle disconnect, the lever is in the correct position.
Oh, so you want the motorized
motorized, yes, dude. That's what I want.
Motorized throttle quadrants. That would be pretty freaking cool. And I mean, it's cool to do it with the yoke as well, like where the yoke actually moves in real life as well.
Man.
Wow.
If I see a yoke moving in front of my desk, I'll lose it.
Oh man. The nerd sense is tingling, doesn't it? That one.
Oh my word. So we have hopes and dreams for the future, guys. We haven't seen anything yet. We're 3 flight simmers who just enjoy the hobby, enjoy the trade, and continue to do it. I would ask you, how do you keep yourself from burning out from doing this every other day or so? How do you keep yourself going?
I think the absolute answer to that is I don't. I burn out, and I think it's absolutely perfectly acceptable to do that. I'm going into my 7th year of streaming Flight Simulator now. I've been doing it. I'm going into my 6th year of doing it as a job, so that's 5 days a week every week with very, very, very few holidays.
Wow.
For 5 years now. I burn out. I don't make any lie of that. I don't try and get around that. People will see me on live stream and I'm like, guys, I just can't be bothered to fly today. And I think that's perfectly fine to accept that. I don't think there's a lot of people who could, and I wouldn't expect a lot of people to put themselves in my shoes. And I think the thing at the end of the day is that I always realize how absolutely, utterly, and completely privileged I am to be able to do this as my job. And even if I do get burnt out and I'm like, oh, for God's sake, I do not want to go on a flight sim today, give it a couple of days away from the computer, let me go and do some real world things away, and I'm right back at it again and I'm ready to go. And that's always been the case. And, there's the age old question of how long is this going to go for? How long am I going to keep doing this? I think I'll know when I'm ready to kind of stop doing flight simulation or cut down on the content creation, where I have those, where I come back and I still don't want to do it. I'll take a couple of days off, or I'll take a week off and stuff like that. And I'm in desperate need of a holiday right now, but aren't we all? Whenever I have a break, I always come back and want to do flight simulation again, and I can't wait to do it. And I feel so blessed and so privileged that I'm part of this community. And you called me OG earlier on, and it kind of actually made me think like, maybe I am OG. I have been doing this for quite a while now. I have been making content for quite a bit. And I don't ever take those things for granted. I really don't. And so, I do get burnt out, and I perfectly accept that. And I think that's a totally natural thing to do in all hobbies and in all, jobs and stuff like that. I think if a lot of people accepted that they get burnt out at things and just kind of embraced the burnout, it's a really weird statement to say. I think a lot of people's mental health would potentially be in a much better state than it might be.
Admit it, deal with it, and then come back fresh.
Yeah. Do you have any goals beyond flight sim or anything like that? Like you said, you've been doing this for 6-7 years. Like, do you just want to kind of keep doing it the same way? Do you have any ways you kind of want to reshape the community yourself, or just like what's your goal?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question, and I think that's a really difficult one to answer, because I think it's really healthy for a lot of people to have a goal. I'll be honest with you, I've not necessarily got a goal within flight simulation. If I was to say I would have a goal, it would just be to continue having fun. That's what I've been doing from day one, and it's been working for however many years I've been doing it so far. So my goal is to just continue having fun with it, because if I'm not having fun with it, then the content's going to slack and things are going to, fall away. I'd love to get into a little bit more variety content creation, but because I have solely concentrated on Flight Simulator for so long, I realized, and I accepted a long time ago, that isn't going to happen. I'll occasionally stream something like Farming Simulator or Euro Truck Sim or American Truck Sim just for a bit of a laugh. I don't expect to do it as a monetary thing, or to get the same analytics as I do in flight simulation, but I don't do it for those reasons whatsoever. And I think it would take a heck of a lot of work and be a huge and really uncalculated risk for me to try and adapt my content into more of those, into more of those things than that. But yeah, I mean, I think variety is great, and doing it every now and again is good fun. I just love to keep going with things and really try and, I think, push with what this year is going to be and what 22's got ahead, and the things that we've already discussed in depth today that we've got on the horizon for the sim. I hope that I can kind of maintain the level of content and the level of enthusiasm that I've so far had for these things. I'm sure I will. I'm sure just the content that we're going to have, the products that we're going to have is going to make the content amazing on its own. Hopefully it's going to be little work from all of us, right? We're just going to be able to enjoy these things, and then the good content will flow. What's the saying? Something like, if you enjoy your work, you'll never work a day in your life. Right? I think that's the old quote.
That's it. You do work, but at least you enjoy it. Yeah.
That's it. Wow. Oh, yeah. There are days where it certainly is work, and a lot of people don't know the stuff that goes off camera, right? Yeah.
I do want to say, to kind of like bring it all together and kind of back to what you said about me calling you an OG earlier, is the fact that there's a lot of people, especially in the last 2-3 years with Microsoft Flight Sim coming out, and a whole new audience joining the Flight Sim community, at all ages, but a lot of them are coming in a lot younger as well. And I think that, however long you are doing this, at whatever point you decide to step away or step down, you'll always be remembered. Like, in the community, you always have kids and teenagers and adults who've like, man, you remember when Chewwy, you know what I mean? Like you may not, I just kind of want to encourage you, like, you may not realize it because you've been so, at it, you've been grinding, you've been doing this, that you may not realize how big of an impact that you are currently making on generations to come of not only flight simmers but future aviators.
Yep.
I mean, I sit here and play Flight Simulator in my pajamas. That's the genuine way that I see it. I don't see it as anything more than that, and maybe that's been almost the recipe to my success, which may sound a little bit arrogant, but I've never ever, and I hate to see myself as anybody above anybody else in the community. I hate with a seething passion the word fame or something like that, because I'm just like everybody else, right? I'm just a fan of simulation. At the core of my being, I'm just a fan of flight simulation. I've just been very lucky enough to be able to provide an income for myself and everything like that, and call it my job, which I wouldn't be able to do without all the people who have supported me. So as much as it might be a thing where people, say, like you might say that, like, I'm an OG, and people, even after I finish streaming, will go back and watch my things and remember me and stuff like that. I don't quite think the community has grasped exactly what they've done for me. And that's what my driving force is every single day, is the same people coming into my channel and supporting me and supporting everybody else as well, and seeing familiar names in other channels, not just my own, right? And so it totally goes both ways. As much as I might have an impact on somebody with my content and, hopefully brighten up their day a bit and things like that, it's what they do for me, and what, the impact, the profound impact that this community has had on my life, both professionally and personally, that keeps me coming back for more. And I've worked at, the reason why we didn't delve into it, but the reason why I left the broadcasting industry was because of how horribly toxic it was. It was awful. Wow. Death threats daily. It was awful. It was horrible, and it's still going on to this day. I've got friends who still work in that industry, and I'm like, I don't know how you mentally cope with that. I don't know how you do it. You've got much thicker skin than me. We're lucky we don't have to deal with that in Flight Sim. We really don't. I remember one content creator who will remain nameless, talked about how toxic the flight simulation community was. And I'm like, whoa. If you think Flight Sim's toxic, you should go and spend half an hour on the League of Legends subreddit and then come back. It's child's play.
Yeah, oh my God. I have one last question. In your free time, if you have any, who are you watching? Like on as far as it doesn't have to be flight sim streamers, but like who are you watching as far as content creators? Like if you're just gonna turn on Twitch or YouTube or whatever, you're just chilling and watching stuff. Like who are you watching?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. So recently, again, with like kind of like my farming simulator stuff, I've been all over a guy called Daggerwin, who I think for the last 6 or 7 years has uploaded a farming simulator video every single day, pretty much bar none also. And his and the videos editing style is, he's got like 800,000 subscribers, so he's really worked for it. Like, I think I grind content creation. This dude is on another freaking level.
Wow.
And he's great. And he's just really kind of chill. And I love the style of editing that he does. So I've been watching a lot of his stuff recently, completely away from any sort of gaming content creation as well. There's like, I freaking hate camping, but there's a guy called, I think it's Xander Budnick or something like that on YouTube. He's Canadian. I'm sorry if I've murdered the pronunciation of his name. And he does kind of like wilderness camping. And again, I love his production quality and the way that he films things and stuff like that, and the drone shots that he does. So I love those kind of things.
That guy's by himself, isn't it? I didn't mean to cut. He's by himself, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he does a lot of stuff by himself. Yeah, in like sleeping out under just a single tarp in minus 30 degrees centigrade or something like that. Like ridiculous. So yeah. I watch a lot of that stuff. I'll be totally honest with you, and I don't mind admitting this. I don't watch a whole lot of flight simulation content, and that's not to be offensive towards any other content creators, because I know there are a plethora of incredible content creators out there. But I think, to be totally honest with you, when you live and breathe flight simulation as a job like I do, it's really nice to just be able to get away from it. And sometimes I will go and watch streams, and I'll go and lurk in friends' stream and chat a little bit, and and watch stuff here and there. I love Dave or 757 Spy. I think he's absolutely hilarious. He's such a good laugh to watch, because he's just the most optimistic person I think I've ever experienced in my life. It's hilarious. I love him. But I don't really watch a whole lot of flight sim content creation. I really don't, and I probably should watch some more, to be honest with you. But I just spend my free time doing other things, really. It's not that I kind of see flight simulation as just a job and nothing else, but I think it just helps me somewhat compartmentalize it a little bit and be able to have an escape away from my work and then come back to it somewhat, if that makes any sense. I don't know.
That makes sense. Makes complete
5
sense.
days a week at 4 hours plus each stream will do it to you. So
yeah,
I hear you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Chewwy.
The OG.
Thank you. OG.
No, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I like that.
I know. We're not there yet. I know. So much. We could go on for hours. I absolutely appreciate you coming on the show and just letting the audience in on what you do, how you do it, recommendations, takes, opinions, and your audience know that you already have your opinions, and that's it. That they love it. And we're getting a taste of that today. So thank you so much, man. I absolutely appreciate you agreeing to come on the show. I know it's 2 a.m. for you now, or 2:30?
Quarter past 1, so that's not too bad. No, we're good.
Okay.
We're okay.
Good to go. I appreciate it, man. Blue, go ahead.
Yeah, man. Just like you said, appreciate you coming on the show, man. Definitely honored, man. I've always definitely personally looked up to you and your channel and the things you've been doing. So keep going, man. Keep grinding it out, and just being a good role model for the community.
I'll do my best. I mean, I'm still going to sit here in my pajamas and play flight sim. That's certainly not changing anytime soon. But thank you both. It's nice just to chat. I feel like a lot of the time, us content creators, regardless of whether it's on a podcasting, we don't just get to chat with each other and just chill and hang out, right?
No.
Yeah.
No. I've loved it. This is only my second ever time doing a podcast kind of thing, so it's been a real pleasure and a privilege to chat with both of you. And thanks to anybody who's watching, whatever time it is. I've not really kept up too much with people who are watching on the channels and stuff like that, but I hope they've all enjoyed as well, us garbling on here for an hour and 45 minutes or so. Yeah. I hope you've all enjoyed it and stuff. And with you guys, best of luck with the podcast. Did you say so? This is episode 23 going into 24 next episode. So I mean, Congrats on that. You guys should keep it up and stuff. I look forward to watching some more coming up in the future. Do you know who you have next on? Have you guys planned that, or
can we? I don't know if is it locked in. I don't want to say yet. I'm not
Yeah.
We know, but
Yeah.
we don't
Everybody should be
want to.
really excited about it, right?
Yes.
Everybody should be like
Yeah.
really excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to set you up there.
Yeah. No. Right, absolutely. Look, me and Blue used to talk all the time on the phone for hours, and we're like, why don't we just like record ourselves talking, or just go live and talk and invite people on? And you as a guest is exactly what we wanted when we talked about it. So this works out perfect. Oh man, appreciate it so much. So you stream what? 5 days a week on Twitch, and then YouTube videos afterwards, something like that?
Yeah, so Monday to Friday, 3 p.m. Like on the dot. I'm pedantic about it. Literally, I see the clock turn 3 o'clock and I click the go live button. Anybody who knows me will know that I do that. It's just my thing. So yeah, Monday through Friday at 3 o'clock. Although that being said, it's really ironic because I'm going to go live earlier tomorrow, but that's another topic. And then yeah, I at least do one YouTube video a month. I've been really slacking on my YouTube game recently, again, just for kind of trying to take some time away from flight sim stuff and things. But yeah, so occasionally YouTube videos here and there. I rant loads of crap on Twitter as well. So, all sorts.
There you go. And yep, Chewwy. I listen. See, I want you. I know the music, right? Blue, what you got coming up, man? What are you doing?
Tomorrow I'm actually gonna be hopping in DCS World. Looking forward to that. It's gonna be pretty freaking dope. Honestly, I could have done that all week long, but I was like, you know what? The community was asking me to fly to 787, so I just did what they want. But tomorrow's stream is for me. So,
Nice.
what you got going on, XP?
Tomorrow I'm gonna finish up the Middle East tour I was doing. We're doing Kuwait to Doha and Microsoft flights. I'm looking forward to that one. And then Saturday I have a Flight Factor event. This huge giveaway from Flight Factor. Any planes they have in their arsenal, they're giving away, including the ones that are coming up later whenever they're available.
Damn.
So it's 3 of us doing it. Me, Flight Vatsim, Kuwait pilot. So that's going to be tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be, Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern. So I'm looking forward to that one. Back in the 7.6. But that's it. We're going to do our thing. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Absolutely. Chewwy, thank you again. Can't thank you enough for being here for the show. Blue, you know what you say, man. Go ahead, take us out, bro.
And of course, you guys, if you want to listen back to this or the other 22 episodes or the future episodes, these will all be posted on Spotify and Apple Music coming soon, or you can just watch it on YouTube, whichever is up for you. But as I always say, remember you have 3 choices: give up, give in, or give it all. You got peace, love, and God bless you. We will see you guys next time, next video. We all the way out. Peace.